Good to have you join us on News Express. The political atmosphere in Rivers State tells a story of calm on the surface, but turbulence underneath. A fragile balance shaped by alliances, rivalries, and the enduring influence of powerful personalities. At the center of this unfolding drama are Similai Fubara and his entrenched political benefactor, Nyesom Wike, whose fractured relationship continued to define the trajectory of governance and political calculations in one of Nigeria's most strategic states. Despite public gesture of reconciliation brokered through repeated interventions by President Bola Tinubu, the underlying distrust between both camps has not disappeared. Instead, evolving into a quiet but intense context for control ahead of the 2027 general elections. What makes the situation particularly intriguing is that the political tension does not manifest in open confrontation as it once did, but rather in subtle maneuvers, coded statements, and strategic silence from key actors. Observers note that Rivers State has entered a phase where politics is being played behind closed doors, with alliances constantly shifting and no single narrative fully capturing the reality on the ground. This ambiguity has only heightened speculation, especially as remarks attributed to Wike about not repeating the mistake of 2023 continue to echo across the state's political landscape, widely interpreted as a signal that he may not support Fubara's bid for a second term. At the same time, the absence of widespread declarations of interest in the 2027 governorship race has added another layer of uncertainty. Apart from Tonye Cole, who has once again stepped forward under the banner of the All Progressive Congress, most prominent figures have chosen to remain silent, a departure from the typically crowded and competitive build-up to elections in Rivers State. That silence, however, should not be taken for inactivity, as political insiders suggest that intense consultations and alignments are already underway, with potential candidates carefully weighing their chances in a highly fluid environment. Among the names circulating within political circles is Kingsley Chinda, a prominent figure in the National Assembly who is believed to enjoy the backing of Wike's political structure. Although he has not publicly declared his ambition, the perception that he can emerge as a preferred candidate has gained traction. Other figures such as Boma Yayi and Marcus Ije has also been mentioned in succession discussions, though both has either denied interest or maintained silence, reinforcing the sense that the real context is being shaped away from public view. Overlaying this development is a broader political strategy often associated with Wike, described by analysts as a coalition-building approach that transcends party lines. This so-called Rainbow Coalition or Joint Coalition seeks to align elements from both the PDP and the APC in support of President Bola Tinubu, effectively blurring traditional party boundaries in pursuit of political advantage. While this strategy has been praised by some as pragmatic, others view it as a source of confusion that complicates party identity and weakens ideological clarity within the state's political system. Against this already complex backdrop came a directive from President Tinubu placing governors above lawmakers within their respective states, a pronouncement that, at least on paper, appears to strengthen the hand of incumbents like Similai Fubara. The directive reinforces a long-standing but often contested principle in Nigerian politics, where governors are seen as the central figures in state-level power structures, wielding significant influence over party machineries and electoral processes. In theory, This should provide Fubara with a strategic advantage as he navigates the path towards a potential re-election bid. Yet the realities in Rivers State suggest that implementing this directive may not be straightforward, largely due to the unique configuration of power within the state. Fubara's relationship with the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Speaker Martin Amewole, remains strained despite efforts at reconciliation. The legislature has not operated with regularity, and its composition reflects a divided political environment where loyalty is not uniformly aligned with the governor. This fragmentation raises questions about whether the presidential directive can truly override entrenched interests and long-standing alliances. Adding to the complexity is the composition of the assembly itself, where a mix of party affiliations and shifting loyalties creates an unpredictable dynamic. While some lawmakers are formally aligned with the PDP, others are connected to the APC or to influential political figures whose interests may not align with the governor's agenda. The absence of certain lawmakers who had previously supported Fubara during the crisis further complicates the picture, as their continued exclusion from legislative proceedings signals unresolved tensions that can resurface at critical moments. Political analysts observing the situation describe Rivers State as being in a delicate phase where multiple scenarios remain possible, each dependent on how key actors choose to interpret and respond to evolving signals from both Abuja and within the state. Some argue that the presidential directive can serve as a stabilizing force, compelling lawmakers to align with the governor in the interest of cohesion and electoral success. Others, however, caution that local realities often override central directives, particularly in a state where political godfathers wield considerable influence and where loyalty is shaped by a complex web of relationships rather than formal hierarchies. Supporters of the governor maintain that the directive is consistent with both constitutional principles and party traditions, emphasizing that governors have historical play decisive roles in shaping political outcomes within their states. They argue that encouraging collaboration between the executive and legislative arms is essential for effective governance and political stability, and that the president's intervention should be seen as an attempt to foster unity rather than impose control. From this perspective, Fubara's position is strengthened, as he is expected to leverage his incumbency and institutional authority to consolidate support ahead of 2027. However, critics offer a different interpretation, pointing to the peculiarities of Rivers State politics where formal authority does not always translate into practical control. They note that figures like Nyesom Wike continue to command significant loyalty within both the PDP and segments of the APC, effectively creating parallel centers of influence that can challenge or dilute the governor's authority. In this context, the presidential directive may be more symbolic than transformative, providing a framework that is ultimately shaped by negotiations and compromise at the local level. The debate also extends to the broader implications of such directives for democratic practice, particularly the balance of power between elected officials and the autonomy of legislative institutions. While some see the prioritization of governors as a practical necessity in a system where executive leadership drives policy and political organization, others worry that it can reinforce a culture of centralization and weaken the independence of lawmakers. This tension reflects a deeper question about how power should be distributed within Nigeria's federal structure and the extent to which political realities should shape constitutional ideas. For many residents and observers of Rivers State, the unfolding situation feels like a high-stakes political drama, one in which the outcome remains uncertain and the stakes continue to rise as 2027 approaches. The comparison to a gladiatorial context is not entirely displaced, as each actor navigates a landscape defined by strategy, resilience, and the constant anticipation of the next move. In this arena, alliances can shift rapidly, and yesterday's ally can become tomorrow's opponent, making long-term predictions particularly challenging. As the political clock ticks towards the next election cycle, the central question remains whether Siminalayi Fubara can translate his incumbency and the apparent backing of presidential authority into a viable path to re-election, or whether the enduring influence of Nyesom Wike and the complexities of local politics will create obstacles that proved difficult to overcome. The answer will likely depend on a combination of factors, including the ability of the governor to build a broad-based coalition, the willingness of rival factors to negotiate, and the extent to which external interventions can shape internal dynamics. In the end, Rivers State stands as a microcosm of Nigeria's broader political environment, where formal structures and informal networks coexist in a delicate balance, and where the exercise of power is as much as about relationships as it is about rules. The Supreme Court may have recently reshaped party leadership battles at the national level, but in Rivers, the context is far from settled, unfolding instead as a complex and evolving narrative that will continue to capture attention in the months and years ahead. For more updates and in-depth analysis, stay with us on News Express. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments section. I am Cassie Tony. Many thanks for watching.